And we're going to talk a little bit about a topic called rent stabilization. You know what rent stabilization is, Lorraine?
It's just what it says.
What's that?
The rent doesn't go up.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, it's a good thing to put it. I never thought of it in that context. I thought about it sort of as stabilizing the whole city. But you're right. It pertains to just that particular rent has been stabilized, meaning that it's under the market rate. And I don't know if you guys saw this week, but and we're going to pull up the slides of this guy's apartment. I'm not going to name the guy. I'm not going to even talk about the context of it. But apparently he was allegedly subletting his apartment, which was rent stabilized on Airbnb. And, here's a picture of his kitchen, all right? And then we've got a couple other pictures. This is a rent-stabilized apartment, ladies and gentlemen. This is a picture of his living room in a rent-stabilized penthouse. This reminds me of Wrangell a little bit, Lorraine. He had all these rent-stabilized things all together into three of them to make one. This is his rent-stabilized bedroom. Yeah, this is the rent-stabilized hallway with the rent-stabilized television. Or maybe not rent-stabilized. The rent-stabilized view of Empire State Building.
Wow.
And that's it. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because this gentleman, he got evicted because he then subletted his apartment, apparently, allegedly, for $649 or $600 something a month or a night, I'm not sure what, to people on Airbnb. And, of course, you're not allowed to have a rent-stabilized apartment and make money on it. But, of course, a lot of people do in New York City. I know. They're watching. They know, ladies and gentlemen. Already the NSA already has that. You don't think they track your name on Airbnb, the NSA? They have that information, ladies and gentlemen. It's just sitting there at their fingertips, waiting for somebody to access it and throw you in jail. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yeah, you got to speak up.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Tony?
Yes.
Oh, good. Let me just shut off my television. This
All
is
right.
Michael here.
Michael, how are you? So let me go on about the rent stabilization guy. This guy is in a penthouse, ladies and gentlemen. He got evicted, but the market rate is $9,000, $9,000 a month, okay? And he gets a rent stabilized price of $6,000. And I was thinking, there should be a cap on what they rent stabilize, because they could rent stabilize a $100,000 apartment and make it like the guy only has to pay $70,000 a month, right? The logic keeps going that way. So that pissed me off because all my life I'm paying the full market rate for much less apartment value than $9,000 or $6,000 a month, but this guy gets a break on it. I don't know. I feel better now, but Lorraine, what did you think about that?
Well, how did he get that apartment? Did he prostitute himself?
I don't know, Lorraine, but this is the mystery of New York City rent-stabilized apartment. Why person A gets one and person B doesn't? That's the question, and no one can answer that question, Lorraine. Maybe Michael can. Michael, are you on the air here with us?
Yeah, I'm on the air.
Are you in a rent-stabilized apartment?
No, I live in a for-profit co-op.
Got it. I'm in a for-profit co-op.
It used to be a non-profit co-op, and it was privatized approximately 14 years ago.
So what do you think about that?
Well, you sound very hurt and angry that you are paying a full market value and that someone else is getting a big break in their rent. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not quite saying that. I'm saying it's worse than that because if it were someone who were supposed to pay the same amount as rent as me, let's say $3,000 a month back then, and but they get a break because they need a break because whatever. Okay, cool. But this person's living in a $9,000 apartment and getting a break to $6,000 versus me paying the full price at $3,000. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well. You want me to give you my feedback?
Oh, I really do. That's why we value your call.
Well, you're talking to a man that, I'm coming from a different perspective.
I know.
I have serious disabilities, and my income is I'm receiving disability payments from the government. So my situation is that I could never afford a real market, despite the fact that my own co-op was privatized. My rent is much lower than the marketplace.
Yeah, but that's okay because in the scheme of the complex of the universe, I feel like you deserve it. I don't feel like he deserved it. It's a penthouse. Are you in a penthouse?
No, I'm in a relatively small. I have a 2.5 room apartment. And I consider myself extremely fortunate because I would estimate that if I had to pay the regular market value of my apartment, I live in Manhattan, in the Lower East Side, I would have to pay about approximately 5 times, possibly 7 times the amount of money I'm paying, which I could never afford. That would mean I would be probably homeless or living in a homeless shelter. So I consider myself very fortunate. But I want to tell you, I can share this with you. This might give you some understanding of the real estate situation in New York City. They announced the New York City local Mayor de Blasio announced that 38 apartments were being made available as an affordable rent. Out of the 38 apartments, Tony, they received 70,000 applications.
Well, I'm going to start applying too.
Well,
Count mine in there.
I think your chances of getting one of those apartments is about the same chance as winning the lottery.
Well, this guy won the lottery with his $9,000 apartment for $6,000. He must have filled in a form somewhere. You know, as long as we're all going for it, I'm going for it too. That's a lesson I learned. Michael, we got to go because we're gonna ask a question about Lorraine. You got a question you want to ask Michael real quick?
Well, no.
Well, Tony, I have just to share a little short brief. I just want to share this with you, Tony. Don't look for justice in the rent market, or don't look for justice in the criminal system. Don't look for justice anywhere in our society because you can't find it.
I love you, Michael. Thank you.
God bless.
Peace.
Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Now for our last topic. It's 8:20. We have a caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I'm living in the northern tip of Manhattan.
Yes.
And I happen to have a rent-stabilized apartment.
Yes.
And what I would say to you is I have a ground floor apartment, private entrance, and I've been in this apartment for 35 years. Now, with the rent stabilization thing, which I have, is I think part of that is the longevity of me being in this apartment.
Okay, excellent.
And,
Let me ask you.
My point is my rent is extremely low. I'm paying $800 and change.
Yeah, but your rent isn't more than it shouldn't. I mean, in the scheme of things, the rent, if your market rate, your apartment wouldn't be on the market for more than $9,000, would it?
Well, what I would say to you is there are people who have shoebox apartments above me in this building, and they're paying 11 and change for a shoebox.
Got it.
There's one that's 2,600 with 4 rooms.
All right. I want to ask you a question because you're very.
Go right ahead.
Can I ask you? Because we want to move to the other topic, but I want to hold you and ask you a question. We're going to put up the slide what Giuliani said this week. Okay. I want to ask you your opinion.
Okay.
Okay. So the ex-mayor of America, Mr. Giuliani, he said that he said something about Mr. Obama. He said that Mr. Obama didn't love his country. Actually, that's not the quote we had. We had a different one, but this is okay.
I heard him when he made it.
Yeah, he made this quote. The quote I had up was about loving America, and it's a little bit earlier than that, actually. It's earlier in the video. Yeah, you saw it. No, right. No, back. There it is. Yeah, that's that one. So he said this. I do not believe. I know this is a horrible thing to say. This is Rudy Giuliani, but I do not believe that the president loves America. He doesn't love you. He doesn't love me. He wasn't brought up the way you were brought up, and I was brought up through love of this country. So, caller, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Mr. Giuliani saying that?
Well, let me start off preface as this. My politics are basically conservative, but at the same time, I look at something, if it's in front of me and it is what it is, regardless of what it is, I'll call it out on that. What I would say to you is his terminology is a little off. What I think he was basically saying is that he doesn't hold America as far as being exceptionalism. He doesn't go that route, where John Kennedy did and Reagan went. I don't think he holds this country up to a higher standards as other countries, and he just wants to be in a race with one of the pack, as it were. But as far as striving to be above with the exceptionalism, I don't think he's into that.
Okay. I hear what you say. A lot of the Reagan spin, it's morning in America. You remember that feeling we all got?
Yeah.
That came out of Madison Avenue. It's called the Tuesday
I
team.
understand that, but at the same time, you had a Democrat, John Kennedy, who strived for exceptionalism.
Yeah, you're right, my friend.
So that's my point. I think his wording was a little off, But at the same time, he did say part two of his statement that he did feel that he was a patriot, the president.
Yeah.
But once again, he's in the pack. He's not a front runner. He doesn't strive to be a front runner and be on a higher pedestal than everybody else. He just wants to be in the race, as it were.
Got it. Lorraine, a question for our caller?
Well, do you think it was a good strategy maybe to check the president?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it was a good strategy for Giuliani to check the president?
Well, he could have used his wording a little differently. I think his message is how he feels, and he didn't back off it for the point there. I did think he could have been a little more tactful.
Got it. All right, sir, I want to thank you for your call. We really appreciate it, all right?
My pleasure entirely. I enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, man.
Have a good night, my friend.
Bless you, sir. All right, Lorraine and Richard. Wow, Roberto, sorry. We had a wonderful session tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for calling. And any closing remarks, Lorraine?
Well, I just think that Giuliani is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. And he probably spoke before he thought about it. And if you really think about it, maybe it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, Lorraine, I want to thank you for joining our show again. I like this new format because the callers can get prepared, and it seems a lot less stressful for everybody, you know?
Uh-huh, it's great.
Yeah, so, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to end out on the music bed and say goodnight. And don't forget, if it's 8 p.m. and it's Wednesday, it's What Really Matters NYC. Peace, love. Thank you, everybody. See you next week, live, right here, 8 p.m. Good night.
Bye.